I never expected to send my pregnancy test to a stranger. His shocking response changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started as I stood in the bathroom, staring down at that little stick. Confusion danced in my mind like shadows flickering under a flickering light. Was I really going to be a mother? My heart raced, pounding like a drum in my chest. I felt a wave of heat crash over me, my hands trembling as I reached for my phone. My mind raced as I tapped the message. A decision made on impulse. Can you handle the truth? I typed, sending a photo of the test. I barely knew him, just a casual friend from a group chat, but fear had taken control, gripping me tight. I could almost hear the echo of my own heartbeat, drumming loudly in the silence. The walls felt like they were inching closer, suffocating me. He replied quickly, his response surprising me. Life-changing news changes lives. What did he mean? I pondered, biting my lip until it bled. Was it courage or madness that urged me to seek advice from someone who knew little about me? My chest tightened with anxiety, and the room felt smaller with every tick of the clock. I thought about my mother. Her eyes filled with dreams as she talked about family. I had never imagined bringing such news to her, especially at 23. What would she say? I felt alone, drowning in waves of uncertainty. All I wanted was someone to tell me everything would be okay. But hours passed, and there was nothing but radio silence. My heart sank. In this digital world where messages were exchanged faster than my thoughts, waiting was a new kind of torture. What was he thinking? I pictured his face, dark hair, deep-set eyes. And yet here I was staring at a screen, waiting for something that felt monumental yet utterly bizarre. Suddenly my phone vibrated. My pulse quickened. Are you ready to find out your destiny? He texted back, his words sending chills down my spine. What did he really know? I glanced at the test again, the little plus sign glimmering like a beacon of hope and fear all at once. Desperation clawed at my insides. I needed answers. What had I gotten myself into? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night spread out before me like an uncharted sea. The soft glow of my phone, a small island in the dark. I took a deep breath, letting my anxiety pour out with the exhale, leaving behind the uncertainty that had swallowed me whole. I felt the weight of the world in that moment, perched on the precipice of a decision I never thought I'd have to make. Destiny, I whispered to myself, echoing his words. It was a curious concept, the idea that something so small could carry the weight of a whole life. Could this really be mine? I typed back hastily, what does that even mean? I pressed send, my heart racing as if daring the universe to respond. Minutes morphed into hours, the silence pressing heavily against me. I scrolled through social media, desperate for distraction, but it only heightened my unrest. Friends laughed through their screens, capturing moments I once cherished, brunches, laughter, life unfurling in radiant colors while I sat on the sidelines, paralyzed by the fear of what lay ahead. A sudden knock pulled me from my reverie. My mother. She was an anchor in the tempest that was my life, but right now I felt like a ship adrift. I opened the door slowly, trying to settle the turmoil within me. Hey, sweetheart, she said, her voice soft but filled with concern. Can we talk? I nodded, the fight in me flickering under her gaze. We settled in the small kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator punctuating the silence. She must have sensed my unease, her brow furrowing as she reached across the table, brushing her fingers over mine. What's wrong? As I looked into her eyes, the tears I had held back slipped free. I opened my mouth, ready to say everything and nothing all at once. Instead, I just shook my head and whispered, I think I'm pregnant. Her face transformed, a mixture of shock, compassion, and a deep maternal instinct flooding in. Are you sure? Positive. I took another breath, the revelation hanging heavy in the air. I took a test. Have you seen a doctor? She asked, her voice steady now, the worry edged with a mother's fierce protectiveness. No, not yet. I sent the picture to someone. Her eyes widened slightly. Someone you know? Not really, I whispered, my voice tinged with shame. Just a guy from a group chat. My mother's silence filled the space, a blanket of tension wrapping around us. The words hung there unspoken. The fear that I had already let someone else into this pivotal moment of my life clashing against my yearning for guidance. My phone buzzed again, breaking the fragile stillness. I jumped up, grabbing it like a lifeline. It was him. We need to talk. My heart sank a little deeper. I turned to my mother, uncertain, my voice a mere whisper. Do I have to? She squeezed my hand, grounding me. You need to find out what you want, sweetheart. You owe it to yourself. I don't even know what that is, I admitted, my voice thick with emotion. Then let us figure it out together, she said. The sincerity in her eyes gave me an unexpected measure of hope, pushing back the shadows that threatened to consume me. I took a deep breath and nodded slowly, feeling the warmth of her acceptance wrap around me like a protective cloak. There was something about the way she held my gaze, an unspoken promise that no matter the outcome, we would face it together. But as I returned to my phone, anxiety whispered in my ear. The conversation I was about to have with him was inevitable, and in a few short moments my entire future could flip on its head. I tapped the screen, heart pounding, and sent a message. Okay, let us talk. As I felt the air thicken with uncertainty, the cruel twist of fate hit me when my phone buzzed again. But it wasn't his reply. It was a notification. An unexpected voice message sent a jolt through me. Hey, just want to let you know I've been keeping a secret too. Just as my heart twisted with worry, dread washed over me. What was this new revelation? And how would it intertwine with the storm swirling around me? The moment stretched painfully, and my mind spun in a haze of overwhelming possibilities. Press play, bracing myself for whatever came next. The message crackled to life, his voice smooth yet laced with an undercurrent of tension. I'm not sure how to say this, but I've been seeing someone else. It's serious. I've been keeping it from you because I didn't want to hurt you. But now with everything that's happening, I need to be honest. Each word felt like a blow to my chest, air escaping my lungs as I absorbed the weight of his betrayal. How could he bring this into my life right now, when everything was already spiraling out of control? The world around me blurred. The kitchen, the refuge I had sought, grew distant. Someone else, I echoed in disbelief, my voice barely above a whispered. My mother noticed my distress, her worry morphing into a protective stance. What did he say? She pressed gently, her hand tightening around mine. I couldn't bring myself to meet her gaze, the shame flooding back in waves. I felt like I was standing on a precipice, the moment forcing me either to plunge into the depths of confusion, or try to find a way back to solid ground. He said he is serious with someone and that he didn't want to hurt me. I finally managed to speak, each word tasting bitter. For a moment silence enveloped us again, heavy and suffocating. The kitchen, normally a sanctuary, felt like a cage. My mind raced with questions. Was this why he was so distant? Why he hadn't offered me any reassurance about the baby? I opened the message file again, desperate for any shred of clarity he didn't provide. But all I found was my swirling confusion reflected in the screen. My mother stood up, her empathetic instincts kicking in. Let me get you some water, she said softly, her concern evident in her strained voice. I nodded but barely registered her absence, my thoughts lost in a tumultuous sea. I glanced at the text thread again. But what was I even searching for? Some twisted solace in words that felt crueler than the uncertainty of my future. The air buzzed with tension, the strain of the moment causing the clamor of the outside world to fade into the background. But then, as if the universe decided that my emotional state wasn't chaotic enough, my phone buzzed again, startling me from my thoughts. It was him again, another message underneath what felt like a deluge of betrayal. I didn't mean for you to find out this way. Can we meet? I need to explain everything. My heart raced with shadows of hope and flashes of anger. Why should I give him the time of day? He had made his choice clear. And yet, there was that gnawing part of me. Was it my instinct to fight for clarity, or mere desperation for answers? I didn't know, but I had to decide quickly. Before I settled on whether to respond, my mother returned, her brow furrowed with concern as she placed a glass of water in front of me. You look pale. Are you okay? I don't know, I confessed, the truth escaping before I could guard it. His message is just so overwhelming. Do you want to talk about it? She offered gently, her presence a steady anchor in my chaotic sea of emotions. I hesitated, my voice trembling. What if I'm making terrible decisions? What if I'm going to ruin everything? Sometimes the path ahead looks unclear, sweetheart. It's okay to feel lost. She reached for my hand, squeezing it reassuringly. But you need to follow what your heart tells you. No one else can decide that for you. I held her gaze, the warmth of her acceptance flooding through me like a balm. The chaos in my heart seemed to quiet, if only for a moment. And yet the turbulence of fear mixed with the looming reality of my choices remained. What if I tell him I need answers and he gives me nothing but more heartbreak? Then you'll at least know what hurts. She spoke softly, her voice tinged with wisdom. It's better than living in this shadow of uncertainty. Torn between fear and the flickering flame of hope, I glanced down at the phone and my heart raced all over again. I opened the message thread, my fingers trembling as I typed. Meeting sounds necessary. Just know I'm not sure how this will go. I pressed send, the act feeling both liberating and imprisoning. The choice was made. Yet, while I fought the storm within me, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had only begun to peel back the layers of this tumultuous experience. As I set my phone down, I thought I could hear my mother's heart resonate with a similar cadence, feeling the dread of the unknown alongside me. We both focused as the quiet settled around us, the air thick with unspoken words and shifting possibilities. But in that moment of respite, all I could hear was my own heartbeat echoing concern. Suddenly, my phone buzzed once more, and my breath hitched. It was a new notification from someone I hadn't counted on hearing from. Hey, I just found out I'm pregnant too. My stomach twisted, a new uncertainty blending with the storm already raging within me. This complicating revelation churned in my mind. Was life only serving up more chaos? The clock was ticking down to my meeting, but now I had more questions than ever. What would the future hold for me? And how deep did the web of secrets go? The clock ticked on the kitchen wall, its steady rhythm a stark contrast to the frenetic emotions swirling within me. I couldn't help but feel it was mocking the chaos of my life, each tick echoing a reminder that time was slipping away, dragging my uncertainty with it. I stared at my phone, the message I had just received lingering in my mind like an unwelcome specter. Hey, I just found out I'm pregnant too. The words twisted like a knife, not just in their revelation, but in the magnitude of what they suggested. Was this a cruel twist of fate? Or was it some form of cosmic joke at my expense? I felt an overwhelming urge to slam my phone down, to scream into the seemingly calm kitchen that had become my battlefield. Instead, I swallowed the rising tide of frustration and confusion, feeling it settle somewhere deep within, making a home there. What's wrong? My mother asked gently, her voice slicing through the suffocating silence that I took a breath, my mind racing as I realized I had to parse the emotions, if only to articulate them to my mother. It's a friend just told me she's pregnant too. I didn't think I'd be facing this news right now. Not when I'm still trying to figure out my own situation. Pregnancy can feel like a minefield sometimes, especially with everything else you're facing, she said, a trace of understanding in her tone. Do you feel like you can talk to her about how you're handling things? I don't know. I snapped, the frustration spilling over. It feels like everyone is moving forward, while I'm stuck in this whirlpool of confusion. I don't even know how to support her when I can barely support myself. She nodded slowly, accepting the intensity of my feelings. Maybe you could see this as an opportunity? What if you both found some comfort in each other? You might not be alone in this after all. I paused, considering her words. Maybe it could be a lifeline, a connection to someone who understood the gravity of this new reality. Still, the idea of sharing my fears and insecurities was daunting. Would it crumble under the weight of shared experience? Or could it blossom into something supportive? Perhaps, I conceded hesitantly, but what if she has everything together and I don't? How could I possibly offer her anything when I'm grappling with my own uncertainty? Sometimes it's not about having answers. My mother's eyes shimmered with sincerity. Just being there for one another can be enough. You don't need to have it all figured out to support each other. I allowed myself a moment to ponder her words. Maybe opening up to my friend could lighten my burden. But just as this sliver of hope started to take root, another buzzing notification jolted me from my thoughts. It was him, the man who had thrust my life into this chaotic mess. Can we meet soon? I really need to talk to you. The urgency in his message sent my heart racing with conflicting emotions: anger, sadness, and an inexplicable longing to understand how we had gotten here. The thought of facing him again both terrified and intrigued me. I was spiraling, the ground beneath my feet shifting with every incoming message. "Are you thinking of responding?" My mother nudged gently, her gaze steady on me as I weighed the decision. That I hesitated, fingers hovering over my phone. Would meeting him bring me answers or just more betrayal? I don't know what will come from this meeting," I murmured, glancing at my mother with a flood of uncertainty in my eyes. "But I can't shake the need to know what he has to say." She offered a soft smile, one that held an understanding I was grateful for. "Follow your instincts. Just remember that you don't owe him anything. Your well-being comes first." With renewed determination, I typed a quick reply. "I can meet, but I don't know if I'll be able to hear you out easily." Pressing send felt like accepting the weight of a battened storm, and though a part of me feared what lay ahead, another clung to the hope that clarity might finally be within reach. In the quiet that followed, I took a deep breath, steeling my resolve. I had to prepare for whatever he might throw my way. But my phone buzzed again, this time with another unexpected notification. "Just wanted to check on you. I know you're going through a lot. I'm here if you need to talk. Just reach out when you can." It was from a colleague, someone I had shared laughter with over coffee breaks and projects, but never anything deeper. Yet somehow their timely message, a flicker of unexpected kindness, pulled me back from the ledge. In this turbulent sea of uncertainty, there was a gesture of friendship waiting to remind me I wasn't entirely alone. But as I began to draft a response, the weight of my reality crashed in once more, forcing me to confront the looming meeting, the upcoming conversations about prospective futures, and the undeniable truth that my world had irrevocably shifted. Could I find anchors in the chaos? The storm was gathering force, and I stood at the eye of it, aware that there were more secrets hidden in the winds than I could possibly fathom. As I set the phone down and rested my head on the cool kitchen table, my thoughts began to churn once again, an inner tempest rising. Would this journey lead me to clarity, or would the revelations only deepen my despair? The morning sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting a gentle golden hue on the chaos of my mind. Each ray felt like a separate thread, pulling me toward different thoughts and emotions, some warm and comforting, others unbearably heavy. I was here, physically present in the moment, yet emotionally adrift, as if each piece of light was bidding for my attention, vying for dominance in this battle of uncertainty. With a deep breath, I tried to center myself. The meeting with him was weighing heavily on my heart, an electric charge sparking from the impending confrontation. I scarcely realized how much I had been holding my breath for days, until the sharp inhale of reality caught in my throat. I pulled my phone closer, staring at the screen as if it would somehow offer me guidance, but all it showed were reminders of the mess I was tangled in. As I scrolled through my messages, the words from my colleague glimmered like a beacon, urging me from darkness into the light. I quickly typed a response: "Thank you. I'm hanging in there. I'd love to chat soon." It felt good to put a small piece of myself out there, to reach for the compassion that surrounded me. Even if I was still figuring out how to accept it, I set the phone aside, promising myself I would talk to her later. But my thoughts were already being commandeered by images of the meeting to come, the crushing weight of decisions that loomed like storm clouds ready to burst. Though I had spoken to my mother with some measure of resolve, deep down, I felt like a frail boat drifting in tumultuous waters without an anchor. Just the thought of facing him brought forth a swirl of emotions I had worked so hard to keep at bay: betrayal, anger, and an aching loneliness. Had he even thought about how his actions would reverberate in my life? Or was I just another chapter in his unwritten story? Before I could spiral further into my uncertainty, I grabbed my wallet and keys, silently deciding that perhaps a walk would clear my mind. The world beyond my kitchen seemed like an entirely different entity, one that carried the scent of possibility. As I stepped outside, the crisp air filled my lungs, and for a moment, I felt the gentle tendrils of hope weaving through the emotional shroud surrounding me. Wandering aimlessly, I found myself at a small park down the street. The laughter of children and the distant bark of a dog contrasted sharply with the turbulent emotions roiling within me. I sat on a bench under a sprawling oak tree, taking in the ordinary yet beautiful moments unfolding around me. Couples strolled hand in hand while parents chased after their carefree children, witnesses to pure joy. Each glimpse tugged at my heart, igniting a longing that burned yet felt comforting. Perhaps these people had their own uncertainties, their stories woven with chaos just like mine. I closed my eyes, letting the sounds wash over me, trying to imagine finding a sense of calm. My phone vibrated again, cutting through my moment of solace and pulling me back to my reality. Hesitantly, I glanced at the screen, and my breath caught as I read the name flashing before me. It was him, a brief message. "I'm outside. Can we talk?" A rush of conflicting emotions battled within me. Part of me wanted to slam my phone against the ground, as if doing so would shatter the hold he had over my heart. Yet, there was another part that couldn't let go, the part that craved answers, closure, maybe even understanding. Gathering every ounce of courage, I stood up from the bench, feeling the cool breeze brush against my skin as I composed myself for the inevitable confrontation. With each step toward that meeting place, my heart pounded, a quickened rhythm to the unearthly symphony of my emotions. As I approached the familiar cafe that had been the backdrop of so many shared laughs with him, I noticed the warmth of memories flooding back, the carefree moments that now felt like shards of glass deeply embedded in my heart. He was waiting outside, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, and for a moment time seemed to stand still, our eyes meeting in a shared space of history and chaos. As I tried to read his expression, a mix of anticipation and apprehension echoed within me. Would he come clean about everything, or would he offer another round of well-crafted excuses? The moment stretched between us like an elastic band, straining against the tension of unspoken words. And just as I prepared to utter my first question, a voice rang out from behind us, pulling my attention away. "Hey, Jason, is that you?" A woman's voice, cheerful, completely unexpected, cut through the atmosphere in an instant. My stomach sank as my gaze snapped to her, recognizing the face before me. She was the woman he had been with, the woman entwined in our story, and before I could comprehend her presence, a tidal wave of confusion and betrayal surged through me. "Well, what are you doing here?" I stammered, heart racing, every hope of clarity morphing into chaos with her unexpected arrival. Suddenly, the tension shifted, and I wondered if my journey toward resolution was about to take a turn I never saw coming. As her arrival loomed over us like a dark cloud, I felt the very ground beneath my feet begin to tremble, and the storm I had been trying to navigate now felt as though it was changing course in a way I couldn't predict. Maybe I wasn't ready for the answers I thought I sought after all. Perhaps I was standing at the precipice of revelations I hadn't prepared myself for. The moment hung before us like an uncut yarn, unraveling in every direction, holding the potential to change everything. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that danced like specters around us. The woman stood there, eyes bright with mischief and a hint of misunderstanding on her face. My heart raced as I forced my trembling mouth into an awkward smile, trying desperately to mask the storm brewing within. Jason glanced between us, the previously smooth lines of his expression becoming a canvas of confusion. "Emily, this is Jessica," he introduced, as if that would somehow untangle the web of emotions attaching each of us to that moment. I could hear my heartbeat thumping in my ears like a desperate drum. This was the moment I had been dreading, yet somehow, it was more complicated than anything I had ever conceived. Jessica approached cheerfully, an energy that threatened to pierce through my more serious demeanor. "What a surprise. I didn't realize you'd be here," she said, her voice lilting with an unwarranted breeze of innocence. Did she really have no idea of the chaos she had woven into our lives? "What are you doing here?" I repeated, this time the words bursting forth like a tightly wound spring finally given space to uncoil. Anger and confusion twined around my words, the tension shifting between us more palpable than ever. "Oh, I was just grabbing coffee," she replied, glancing towards the cafe with an endearing innocence that felt so wrong. Her explanation echoed back to me like a cruel taunt, as if it were just a simple coincidence. I felt tiny like a fragile leaf in a gusting wind. Jason stood between us, clearly caught off guard, and his silence was deafening. My emotions battled fiercely, and I could feel the sting of betrayal rise like a tide rising in my chest. My mind raced to reassemble the fragments of context I had thought I understood. Yet here I was, dissected and exposed under the glare of unwarranted scrutiny. "Emily, let's just," Jason started, a note of uncertainty creeping into his voice, but I was done retreating into the shadows of his life. The longing for answers pierced through every hesitation. "No, You don't get to decide now that I should take a step back. I cut him off, my voice trembling but resolute. Why is she here, Jason? What's going on? At that, Jessica's brow furrowed, her playful demeanor faltering for the briefest moment, perhaps sensing the gravity of the emotions pulsing around us. She took an involuntary step back, the edges of her smile fading. We're just friends, she blurted, her words a threadbare shield against my scrutiny. Friends? I echoed, the word slipping from my lips like poison. You call that what you have? My heart felt like it was caught in a vice. Every breath was hard won. A struggle amidst the tumult of emotions trying to escape in a deluge of pain and frustration. The walls I had systematically built to separate myself from this moment began to crack. Jason ran a hand through his hair, a telltale sign of his discomfort. Can we just? But then Jessica sidestepped, her eyes narrowing slightly as if piecing together a puzzle I never knew existed. Wait. She turned to him with a mixture of challenge and curiosity. Are you too? His silence was a thunderclap in my soul. In that flicker of hesitation, a sense of realization washed over me, spilling terrifying possibilities across the canvas of what I thought was known. Confusion wrestled in my heart as I awaited his response, the weight of judgment and hurt converging on me. I wanted to scream, to push through the layers of uncertainty. But just then the universe conspired against me. My phone buzzed once again against the charge of this gathering storm, a sudden jolt that brought me back down. I fumbled for it, anxiety spiking as I glanced at the screen. My hand nearly slipped as what I saw may as well have been a bolt of lightning. A picture, unbidden, sent from an unknown number, raw against the backdrop of chaos already enveloping me. It was a pregnancy test, and the faint pink line showed more than I was prepared to process. My heart dropped, pulling at the threads of reality I had relied on, cascading memories and thoughts spiraling into disbelief. Before I could react, Jason's eyes honed in on my expression. What is it, Em? I didn't answer. Instead, I felt the burning weight of the truth descend upon me like a shroud. I was lost in a labyrinth of emotions, overwhelmed by fear, hope, confusion all at once, cascading into a cacophony of unanswered questions. Jessica's gaze shifted between us, fear painted across her face, realization dawning. Wait. Is that? Oh my God. Is that your test? Everything felt as if it was fracturing around me. Time slowed and the impending confrontation morphed into a twisted tableau of uncertainty, an unpredictable dance of emotions finding their footing unceremoniously as the clarity began to prick at the edges of my frenzy. I knew I still had not found the answers I craved. In that suspended moment, with the weight of new possibilities resting heavily on my shoulders, I realized that the chaos was only beginning. The world around me began to blur as if I were drowning in an ocean of thoughts, each wave crashing harder than the last. The pulsating chaos of my heart was now steeped in layers of confusion and scattered emotions. I barely registered Jessica's frantic questions or Jason's growing unease. Everything shrank into the periphery of my mind, fixated solely on the single image on my phone. It can't be, I whispered, though the words felt like an empty echo returning to me. Jason's brows furrowed more deeply, his voice rising with urgency. What do you mean? Emily, talk to me. Jessica, caught in the whirlpool of our distress, stepped closer to Jason and clutched his arm instinctively. Her eyes darted between us, as if needing to assess the fragile balance of our unspoken dynamics, the triplet of emotions washing over us. The dull ache from the message was starting to solidify into a point of unbearable tension in my chest. I wanted to scream, to confide my entire life's mess, but all I could muster was silence. My fingers trembled, the phone slipping from my grasp. I bent to retrieve it when I caught a glimpse of Jason through the veil of my own turmoil. His face had turned pale, his features masking a battle of emotions that reflected my own confusion. I forced myself to meet his gaze, hoping for some semblance of clarity, some roadmap through this tempest of uncertainty. Instead, I found nothing but an unknown shared between us, a chasm swallowing our connection whole. Is it true? Jason asked quietly, the air thick with the weight of his disbelief. The question sharpened the atmosphere, laid bare the accusations veiled in misunderstanding. I could feel Jessica's grip on Jason tightening, a silent plea for security in a rapidly shifting ground. The little bubble of camaraderie she had seemed to navigate towards now felt utterly ruptured. I don't know, I stammered, exhaustion creeping into my voice. Could just be a mistake. A freak accident, hope dangled on a thread. Emily, you need to find out for sure, Jason urged. His voice was filled with a mixture of concern and desperation. We can't just pretend this isn't happening. With that, an unintentional fire lit beneath my skin. Pretend? You think I want this? That I wanted to receive a text like that from someone I don't even know? The heat of anger smoldered within me. Even as I felt tiny and exposed at the consequences of it all, tears pricked the corners of my eyes, and I swallowed the lump in my throat, an indictment of my own helplessness. My world felt perilously unbalanced. The woman standing next to Jason represented everything I feared. The unknown, the irrepressible possibility that my worst nightmare could give birth to a reality I couldn't even envision yet. Jessica's expression softened as she sensed the dire weight of our interaction, but then she took a step away from Jason, mouth opening to say something, only to reconsider. Finally, she turned her gaze upon me, and for the first time, I sensed a flicker of compassion. I didn't know. I'm sorry, she whispered, voice edged with sincerity. For a moment it was almost a balm. A fleeting moment of kindness that soothed the turmoil in my chest. But that flicker was fleeting. Was it even enough to extinguish the roaring flames of uncertainty? I collapsed against the nearest cafe wall, sliding down to the sidewalk amidst protruding roots of the trees that sprouted weakly in the cracked concrete. My phone lay limp next to me, the heart of this emotional storm drawn further into sheer chaos. Jason knelt beside me, the palpable distance pulsating between us like a drum announcing the arrival of a dark omen. We will figure this out, he said, although his tone suggested uncertainty. I mean, could it really be positive? It almost doesn't matter if it is or not, I admitted, my voice trembling. What am I supposed to do, Jason? Was everything we had built just a beautiful illusion? Does this change everything? A sudden pain twisted in my gut, horrific images blossoming within my mind at a thought I could no longer suppress. The child that might come, the life tangled with complexities behind the traces of our fractured connection. I desperately sought answers hidden underneath Jason's uncertain expression, but the shadows only deepened. He averted his gaze, gripping his hair again. The pressure in his silence spoke volumes. I can't keep pretending that I know what you're feeling. We need to be honest, but I'm scared too, he finally whispered, a chink in his composure that made my heart leap and shatter at once. Just then the phone buzzed again, pulling at the thread of my thoughts. The familiar ominous sensation flooded back as I grabbed it up, dreading the unknown. But it was not another confused friend, it was a text, clear and bold. From the same unknown number, you have to be careful. Things might not be as they seem. The room around me spun as the implications of that message tangled through my mind. Suddenly, the unknown number's words were made tangible, and the specter of betrayal loomed larger than my own fear. My throat tightened as I turned to Jason, my heart pounding in rhythm with the dawning realization that what I was facing was only the beginning of a much larger battle. Jason, I whispered, the air scarcely escaping my lips, what does that even mean? His eyes widened, a flicker of anxious realization darting across his features. The storm was gathering strength, and as I held tightly to the remnants of clarity, I understood this tangled web was just beginning to ensnare us both. I sat on the rough concrete, the texture scratching against my palms as I braced myself against the weight of impending decisions. Jason's presence beside me offered little comfort. His silhouette was a blend of uncertainty and tumult, much like the emotions spiraling within me. The new message glowed ominously on my phone. Its words weren't just a warning but an invitation into a world I desperately wished to avoid. Emily, Jason started, but the tremor in his voice echoed my own spirals of confusion. He hesitated, his eyes flickering over the words dancing across my screen as if they had turned to life, each letter alive with potential threat. I could almost hear the echoes of his thoughts, each possibility more daunting than the last. Things might not be as they seem. The phrase twisted itself around my mind, dragging me deep into a whirlpool of paranoia. Who was this stranger? What did they know that we didn't? And why did it feel like the walls were closing in? Why don't we take a minute? Breathe? Jason suggested, attempting to reignite some semblance of stability in the chaos, but his own anxious breaths betrayed him. The desperate need for an anchor was palpable between us, though our fingers wouldn't bridge the gap. That I tried to focus on the ground. The roots jutting through the cracks had comforted others before me, Maybe even me in the past on long-forgotten days of innocence. But that wasn't he now. Everything about this moment felt heavy with the weight of unknown futures. I don't think I can breathe, Jason, I admitted, my voice cracking. What if everything is a lie? He shifted, as if my words had caused tangible pain. Nothing has to change unless you want it to, Em. We can take our time, think this through. Think this through. I echoed hollowly. How do you even think when each thought leads to more confusion, more doubt? Every minute that passes brings us closer to something unthinkable. His gaze darkened, and I couldn't help but feel the vast gulf that widened with every heartbeat. You mean the baby? No. I snapped, though the word burst from me more defensively than intended. Not just that. Everything surrounding it, the unexpected, the chaos, the secrets. There is so much that could be wrong. A silence fell, stifling yet necessary, as thoughts turned inward. Perhaps it was the silence that had started this roller coaster of events. All those moments we didn't share. All those times we skirted around the truth the cracks had finally shattered. We can figure out the truth, Jason said finally, determination edging his voice. Maybe this stranger is just trying to scare you. But it was too late. A leap over that tangled chasm felt impossible now. I clutched my phone as if it carried the secrets of the universe. And what if they're not? What if this is something bigger than we realize? I've shared details about my life through those texts. Could they have manipulated me without even being here? Understanding dawned across Jason's face. A flicker of recognition of the layers this situation unfurled. So, you think they know things? About us? About your pregnancy? My heart thundered as I nodded slowly, the wildness in my stormy emotions barely held at bay. The world felt unreal, as if spiraling into a space with invisible strings being pulled by unseen puppeteers. I breathed in sharply, forcing myself to grip the boundaries of reality. I need to know, I finally said, a thread of resolve seeping into my voice. Who is this person? How are they connected? This all leads to the truth. But what was the truth? My mind whipped through possibilities, from utopian dreams of love to the stark nightmare of betrayal. I looked up at him, hunting for a glimmer of reassurance, only to find Jason's face was a mirror of my own growing dread. I'll help you figure it out, he whispered, the earnestness offering a fragile lifeline. Let us call the number back. My stomach twisted. No, I can't. What if it's dangerous? Then we changed the narrative, he insisted, sturdy in his eyes. The resolve in his posture offered a sense of fortitude, raw and unrefined. The intention was there, but the path felt fraught with risk, a tightrope precariously suspended over absurd implications. I can't just invite them into my life. I can't do that. I pulled away from him, feeling my words split the air, uneasy with the tension. Emily, ignoring it, make it go away, Jason reasoned, frustration creeping into his tone. Just answer me, what else is left? What are you waiting for? The silence hung thick again. No safety nets in sight, forcing me to confront the chilling panic clawing at my insides. And then it hit me, the remnants of previous conversations, the lost messages, the clock ticking towards another familiar anxiety. Suddenly my heart raced for a different reason. A revelation struck like lightning. What if the texts are connected to the others? I felt my breathing quicken as he returned my gaze with uncertainty. What if I'm not the only one? Jason's eyes widened, flooded with fear. You think the same stranger has reached out to others? Silence stretched once more, and I tasted the bitter tang of fear in my throat. The clarity was extraordinarily daunting and painfully exhilarating all at once. Just as we thought the storm had moved away, fate decided it was just getting started. Before I could gather my thoughts, my phone buzzed again. One last kick from that void. With trepidation, I glanced at the screen and nearly dropped it. I know about your friends, Emily, the message read, and what you all share. Just wait and see. A shiver rolled down my spine, fear mingling with something else that felt dangerously like impending doom. All the misplaced trust, every friendship laid bare, suddenly felt hollow against the weight of whatever this anonymous person knew. Jason, we need to go. My voice was reduced to a whisper, reality crashing down around me like a tidal wave. Before Jason could respond, I rose, adrenaline pushing me into action. Whatever this was leading to, I couldn't let it swallow us whole, but the next steps held peril, and there would be no turning back. As we moved through the streets, my heart raced with anticipation and overwhelming dread, one question clawing at me relentlessly. What awaited us at the end of this newly twisted path? The streetlights flickered overhead, casting wavering shadows that danced along the pavement, mirroring the turmoil swirling within me. Each step echoed with uncertainty as I and Jason moved through the dimly lit alleyways I once considered safe. Now they felt like a labyrinth leading toward an inevitable clash with the unknown. Emily, Jason's voice broke into my spiraling thoughts, a tangible concern wrapped in quiet urgency. Are you sure about this? Maybe we should just head home. No, I interrupted, the word sharp enough to sting. We can't run from this. Not now. Even as the words left my mouth, I felt the weight of our decision looming over us. My phone was still clutched tightly in my hand, its screen a portal to possibilities I feared. Opportunities that could lead to answers or perhaps push us further into an abyss of secrets and betrayals. Each vibration, each message, each tethered soul I had unknowingly connected to this stranger felt like a noose tightening around my heart. We approached a small cafe, a grimy place that once brought us laughter and warmth in simpler times. Now it loomed before us like an altar of sacrifice where we would lay bare our vulnerabilities. The bell jingled softly as we entered, a sound both normal and haunting in this moment. I could see the barista, a familiar face, but her smile faltered when she noticed my stricken expression. Hey, are you okay? She asked, concern creasing her brow. I forced a nod. Just a lot on my mind. As Jason and I crept into a dim corner booth, the familiar fragrances of coffee and pastries wrapped around us, somehow both soothing and suffocating. The interactions of our past seemed irreparably tainted, the joy of untroubled days now marred by lurking fears. I can't keep going back and forth without knowing more, I confessed, my voice a thread pulled tight between hope and desperation. What if whoever this is isn't just threatening me? What if they expect something? The thought alone gnawed at me, an incessant worry that perhaps I was merely a pawn in a game bigger than I could fathom. Jason leaned in, brow furrowed. What could they possibly want? I don't know, but if they know about my pregnancy, maybe they want something in relation to that. Our friends, everything. The words spilled out, raw and vulnerable. Could destroy everything, Jason. I just can't fathom you lose them, he interjected, though his own eyes betrayed him. You can't lose hope. Hope, a fragile concept, felt frail in the face of the digital shadows we were chasing. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again, the screen alight with a new message. My breath caught, all anger and fear coiling into a tight knot. Answer it, Jason urged, on the edge of his seat. Yet dread wrapped around my throat like a vice. With shaking fingers I glanced at the message, a chill snaking its way down my spine. I see you, Emily. I see Jason. Come to the park at midnight if you want the truth. A shudder coursed through me, followed by a hollow, freezing realization. They had been watching. They've been watching us, I whispered, stunned into silence. The implications of such a statement spun my head around. What had I unwittingly involved myself in? What does it mean? He whispered back, the tension palpable in the air. We can't go. We can't ignore this either, I argued, heart racing as panic surged anew. Every rational instinct within me screamed to turn away. Yet something in the depths of my being itched to confront whatever twisted puzzle lay ahead. And just then, an unexpected kindness shifted my focus. The barista approached our table with 2 steaming cups of coffee, concern etching her features. You both look like you need some comfort. On the house, she said, with a gentle smile that held an unexpected warmth. Take a deep breath, okay? Whatever it is, you're not alone. It was a simple act, but in that moment of darkness, it felt like a light piercing through. I wrapped my fingers around the warm cup, allowing the heat to seep into my palms, letting the weight of uncertainty ease just a fraction. Thanks, I said, forcing a smile in gratitude. Jason took a sip, and a flicker of camaraderie anchored us in that instant. Let us use this, he said, courage rising in him as he gestured towards the phone. Find out who sent that message. If they're watching, they might also be our path to the truth. The clock was ticking, each moment pulling us closer to the midnight rendezvous. And as the hours slipped by, a storm of swirling emotions settled around me, a bittersweet mixture of dread laced with determination. We were alone, yet connected in this haunting complexity. But just as a tremor of hope caught in our chests, my phone vibrated fiercely, a new notification lighting up the screen. My heart raced, For the message was not from the stranger but from Jamie, the last person I expected. Emily, it read, I need to talk. It's important. Meet me at the park, leave Jason. My entire body recoiled, a deafening echo of betrayal crashing against my ribcage. The weight of suspicion and dread surged into my chest, the realization hitting like a tidal wave. Jamie. What did she have to say? Why would I leave Jason, the only unwavering lifeline I had left? Emily? Jason's brow furrowed. What's wrong? What did she say? I stared into Jason's eyes, conflicting emotions clashing as the clarity surged. This distortion of trust between friends, between us, lay heavy at the precipice of truth. One path led to danger veiled in shadows, the other had the potential to unravel everything I thought I knew. I don't want to, but I couldn't finish, the truth looming overhead, waiting to break free. And as I struggled to make sense of the tangled web of love, betrayal, and fear, one undeniable fact remained. The truth was a river running deep, and we were perilously close to an edge where the currents promised only chaos. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the darkness deepened, yet the urgency coursing through me illuminated everything, urgent and fierce. The park loomed ahead, a place of childhood memories now twisted into a battleground of uncertainty, friendships wearing fragile masks. I gripped Jason's hand, his warmth grounding me in this storm, yet doubts wrestled within tight chains of fear. Emily, we don't have to do this, he whispered, desperation threading through his voice. But I could see the desperation mirrored in those deep-set eyes. He wanted to be with me, to protect me, but how could he when obstacles lay thick and heavy between us? Leaving you feels wrong, I admitted, my voice trembling with every syllable. Jamie knows something. If I walk away, if I leave you behind, I might forsake the chance to uncover what this really means. The double-edged sword of loyalty and truth cut deeper than either of us anticipated. The essence of our relationship hanging in painful suspension. No. Jason's voice broke, betraying his own whirlpool of emotions. You need to go. If Jamie asks the key, you have to find out what she knows. He drew in a shaky breath, his resolve a mix of concern and support that tightened around my heart even more. If staying means risking more hurt, then you owe it to yourself to seek clarity. My heart ached at the prospect of separation, but I couldn't ignore the gravity of his words. Gathering my courage, I turned toward the park, the path winding before me like a tome of uncertainties, yet pulsing with the thrill of unknown revelations. Silence stretched out, the wind whispering shadows as I approached the designated spot. The trees rustled, leaves tremoring against the building tension, a symphony of doubts entwining with hesitant hope, and then, just as I stepped into the clearing, I caught sight of her. Jamie stood there, enveloped in twilight like a specter, remorse etched into the lines of her face. It hit me then. The weight of what our friendship had weathered suddenly feeling heavier. Emily, she said softly, her voice laced with regret. I didn't want to drag you into this, but I had to warn you. Warn me? About what? I demanded, my voice rising as urgency battled against lingering hurt. Do you even realize what I'm facing? What we're all facing? Her gaze dropped, guilt coursing through the air. I know everything. About you, about Jason, the text. The silence that followed fell like a heavy shroud, each word ringing with the echo of betrayal. I'm in a similar situation. I thought I was going to lose you both. Tightening my grip against the turmoil threatening to drown me, I stepped closer. Lose us how, Jamie? What have you been hiding? Her eyes flickered with raw pain, and I couldn't discern her true intentions anymore. Were they born of friendship, or were they shadowed by something deeper? Her response was a whisper, fragile and haunting. I received texts too. They know things. They know everything. As her words hung heavy between us, I felt the betrayal slice through. The prickly truth settling hard and cold in my chest. The callous nature of it all threatened to swallow me whole. What do you mean? What have they told you? I asked, dread coursing through my veins like fire. I am pregnant too. The admission tumbled from her lips, each syllable steeped in raw fear. They said they're watching us. I didn't know what to do. You're not alone in this, but you need to be careful. Everything stopped. Time, movement, thoughts, everything froze as the gravity of Jamie's words carved a fresh wound in my heart. My mind raced. She wasn't just facing the shadow. She was a part of it, intertwined in a web far thicker than either of us had imagined. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I barely managed to ask amid the torrent of emotions crashing against me. Because I was scared. I didn't know how to approach you with this. I thought the truth would tear us apart, she lamented, tears welling in the corners of her eyes. We've built this bond, but every day brought more doubt. I took a step back, the weight of understanding settling heavily on my shoulders. How do I even consider trusting you again when you've kept this from me? Jamie took another step closer, her voice soothing but desperate. Because I'm scared too. If we don't unite in this, if we don't face whatever menace is pulling the strings, we may lose everything we love. The chill of her words curled around me, piercing the haze of anger and hurt. Jamie was right. Fear could easily forge bonds or snap them like the fragile threads they were. Yet love demanded unity in the face of chaos. Slowly, I inhaled, allowing the words to settle within me, recognizing the truth in the shared strings of our lives. In that moment of stark clarity, I felt a change, something shifting deep within the whirlpool of my emotions. We'll need each other if we're going to face this, I whispered, unveiling the tender fabric of our friendship. A spark ignited, even as we faced a tidal wave of complications. A united front? Jamie murmured, a breath of hope mingling with uncertainty. And just as the possibility of healing took root, a glimmer of victory stirred. We can figure it out together. We have to trust one another. Let us unearth the truth. Just as that flicker blossomed, my phone buzzed violently, then went silent, the familiar weight of dread creeping back in. A text from Jason appeared, a direct call for help and courage. Come back. We need to face this together. The temptation to run back to him surged, pouring like molten gold through my veins. I can't hide from my truth anymore, I declared, catching Jamie's worried gaze. What if this is the moment we turn the tide? Relief washed over her face, and together we turned to leave the treacherous ground behind. She mustered a hesitant smile, a flicker of shared strength blooming from our hearts. Each step we took back toward the cafe away from the shadows felt purposeful. Upon arrival, Jason stood waiting, worry etched into his brow. But as we approached, I could feel the tension crackle with resilience restored in our bond. I met Jason's eyes, the understanding unspoken wrapping around us like a cloak against impending chaos. The truth awaits us, I announced firmly. And as we settled together, united amid a storm of uncertainties, I felt the warmth of fragile hope blooming in the corners of once shattered spaces, ready for the battles ahead. Together we would plow forth into the fray, determined to confront the scattered remnants of our intertwined fates. And that moment, I realized. The journey had tested us, twisted us beyond reason, but through shared struggle and vulnerability, we would emerge unbroken. And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I finally understood that love, once obscured by shadows, could illuminate a path leading us home. And no longer just a figure in someone else's narrative, I stood. We faced the truth together, no matter what it reveals. And with that declaration resonating in the air, I felt lighter, grounded in the knowledge that, united, we could navigate even the darkened paths ahead. Life was not only what shaped us, it was the connections woven within the chaos, the courage that arose in the face of fear, and the unerring love that would carry us forward into the dawn of possibilities waiting just beyond the horizon.